What's going on, guys? Welcome on back to Matt DIY. So in today's video, we got a review for you of a chainsaw I recently bought. It's actually the Echo CS-590 24-inch bar. Wanted to give you my thoughts on it in case you're in the market for a saw and let you know what I thought. Alright guys, so this is the Echo Timberwolf CS-590 chainsaw. Now this is the 24-inch version. I believe it comes in 18, 20, and 24. Now, I already have a Husqvarna 440 Rancher, 18-inch, but I needed something just a little bit bigger for some of the really big trees with, pretty wide stumps towards the bottom. Ended up choosing this one for a number of reasons. So this is the 24-inch bar, just to give you a little extra couple inches of cutting room there. And I got to tell you, well, it's also a big difference because this saw is actually almost 60 cc's, whereas the Husqvarna I have is about 39. So it's about 20 cc difference in power, and I got to tell you, I can really tell the difference. But before we get into that, I just want to kind of show you the saw and the features of it and the things that it has that I really like. So on the side here, pretty common, you've got your oil fill and your gasoline, and then your pull cord right here. Now, this is where the Echo is pretty cool. There's no really extra buttons and things like that over here to mess with. You just have a stop and run switch, and then you've got your choke, your throttle, of course, and a decompression button. So basically, to start this thing, it's super, super easy. You just flip your switch on, you push your decompression button in, and then you pull the choke, and then usually like a couple of pulls and it'll fire right up. Push the choke in, pull again, and it's good to go and running. That is pretty awesome because some other saws I've seen, and also the Husqvarna that I use, which is a great saw, but it takes probably 5-6 pulls to get the thing running. I'll show you a cold start on this one. It's really quick. We'll see if we can get it in 2. Most times I can. It's also got a cool feature for when you're starting it in the wintertime. So if you look at the top here, you've got a little sun icon and then a winter icon. And I've seen a lot of people not notice that this was here. So summer, when the weather's warm, you want this on the left. But in the winter, you can push it to the right. And basically you're taking your air filter off, and there's a little black section down in here. It's hard to show you, but right down here, right down in there, there's a little place you can put your screwdriver in, that black sort of rectangle there, if I can get it in view better. And then you can push that over to the right for winter, to the left for summer, and that allows you to start it easier in those conditions. So right off the bat, I got to tell you, I love the saw, and I'll put some clips in here. We'll do the cold start last. So I'll put some clips in here now while I talk about the saw. So 24-inch Timberwolf, like I said, I needed it for some bigger trees that I had that I was taking down. All right, so the video you're seeing right now is actually me cutting a pretty large tree. I'm not sure exactly how thick it was, but this saw was definitely needed to get through it. 18 inch was a little small, so I just made a little notch, cut that out perfectly fine. It got through there, no issues whatsoever, and then cut the tree from behind, which you'll see in a second. Before I push it over, but the saw did perfectly fine. This is a stock chain that came with it. No adjustments that I've made to the saw at all, besides taking it out of the box, putting fuel in it and oil, and making the cuts. And it's running just fine, getting through the wood pretty amazing just as is. So stock chain, I believe it's an Oregon brand chain that comes with it. This is a 24-inch saw, as I mentioned, and cuts pretty well. Compared to the Husqvarna, I'd say the Husqvarna chain has maybe a slight edge on this one, but again, it's just standard. I can always change the chain as needed. Also, wanted to mention, as you're seeing me cut through some of these other decent sized logs, it's going right through them, but you might be able to tell, because I'll include a little bit of sound along with the chainsaw cuts as well. You might be able to tell that it actually doesn't rev up to full capacity. And I believe, from what I'm reading online and what I'm reading in the manual, that from the factory, Echo actually ships these saws running a bit lean. So after the first two tanks of fuel, which it says in the manual, you can then actually adjust the saw so that it will run a little bit better. Now, it had no trouble getting through these logs as is. I didn't have any trouble at all. But you can tell when you try to rev it up, it just bogs down slightly. It just doesn't have its full power potential that you would expect. And that's where you might need to make the adjustment on the carburetor just to allow it to basically eat a little faster. As you can see in the video, it has no trouble getting through these logs at all. So as far as using it and cutting with it and chopping logs and things like that, absolute pleasure. It is a little bit, it's got some weight to it, but for me, it didn't cause me any problems. The saw is mostly made out of metal, which is nice. So the quality's there, and I didn't have any issues with that. So yeah, just wanted to include a couple clips there of the saw actually going through some wood so you can see how fast it is. And I'm pushing it just about as far as I can with the factory settings in these videos so you can see, but it has no trouble at all powering through those logs. So I'm excited to see what it can do once we actually adjust the carburetor. So coming back to the saw itself, guys, I wanted to show you too the adjustment for the chain. So on the side, it's got kind of the old-fashioned standard chain adjustment. You got to loosen both nuts, and then you can turn the little screw there to actually tighten it, and then tighten the nuts up back again, and you're good to go. So not exactly easy adjusting in the field, but for me, not an issue. I'm not cutting trees every day. I can certainly take the time to stop and tighten the chain or switch it out when needed. Not an issue for me. Another thing I really like about it, and this is simple, but it actually came with the Echo chain saw guard. So how cool is that? With the Husqvarna, it didn't come with it. I actually had to buy one separate. The Echo, I'd ordered one, but it actually arrived with this one already come with it factory out of the box. So that was pretty cool. You do not need to buy an extra one there. So that's kind of the overview, how it cuts and things like that. So I think without further ado, we'll go ahead and set you guys up. I'll do a cold start on this thing and just show you how easy it is to start. Alrighty folks, so let's go ahead and cold start this thing. Got the switch on, choke pulled out, gas in the tank, decompression valve in, and let's go ahead and just take a pull and see what happens. Alright, so there's 3, and you can see it turned over. So push the choke in, she should fire right up. And there we have it. So it actually took 5 pulls at a time. It's a little bit cooler out today though, probably in the 60s. Still not that big of a deal. I think it was 3 on the initial pulls there with the choke on, and she fired right up, and then turning the choke off, a couple more, and it's good to go. Nothing really to mess with too much. It just fires right up, no issues at all. One thing I will say, it is an easy saw to start, but you can easily mess it up. So let me just show you this button right here that says stop, which is the off switch. I've made the mistake of not flipping that up before I started pulling, and you will quickly flood this saw. I'm not sure exactly how it works as far as getting fuel initially into the engine, but whatever the vacuum or thing that happens there as you start to pull it, fuel goes in quite quickly. So if you have this off and you start pulling, you're going to flood the engine real easily. Then you got to take this off, take the spark plug out, dry it off, you know, get all the gas out of the engine, and then try again. And it will start, but it's just a pain. If you're out in the field, make sure you're always checking the switch and make sure it's on before you pull the rope on this guy. That's the only downside. But for me, I'm not going to call it a downside. I learned my hard way once. I'm not going to do it again. And now I just know that it's super easy to start, making sure that that switch is always in the on position before I go ahead and try to start it. All right, folks, that's about it there, really. Just wanted to give my thoughts on the Timberwolf CS-590 if you're in the market for a saw. And really the deciding factor for me on this one was price. So when it comes down to it, my final review of this thing, I'm very, very happy with it. Love it. Highly recommend this saw. I I can't really tell you something bad about it besides the fact that you have to do a little bit of your own adjustment out of the box. But other than that, highly recommend, because when you're comparing saws, it's really, you know, the Echo, and then you got the Husqvarna. And I was looking at some Chinese saws as well, since I'm just a homeowner, like Neotech and some of those types of things. Came right down to it, guys. I thought, you know what, a Chinese saw for a couple $100, or Echo, a trusted brand, for, I think this goes for about $439, somewhere around there. I just couldn't go wrong. I decided to choose the Echo because I've got some Echo weed eaters. They have been good to me for years, always start up easily, no issues with them at all. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to give the Echo chainsaw a try. And the Husqvarna 24-inch bar, closest one I could find to something like this, I believe, is the Rancher 460. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that one retails for around $629 or something like that. So for $200 less, or just about, I would recommend the Echo Timberwolf all day long with the 24-inch bar. I don't think you can go wrong. Again, I wasn't spending the money on a steel, so I was really comparing this to the Husqvarna and the Chinese, and it was like, you know what? I've had good luck with the weed eaters. Let's try a saw, and I would definitely buy another Echo saw. So hopefully that helps you decide if you're in the market for a 18, 20, or 24-inch chainsaw. Alrighty, guys, thanks for watching there. Hope that helped you with your decision to potentially buy a chainsaw if you're looking for a larger bar. I would highly recommend the Echo 24-inch CS-590 Timberwolf. I don't think you can go wrong. It cuts great, runs great, starts easy. You can't really ask for much more than that. And I think the warranty on it standard is like 5 years. You don't have to buy anything extra or anything like that. That's just what it comes with. So definitely a great tool to have around the house if you're a homeowner, or if you're cutting trees every day. Maybe it's not set up quite for that, but I think it's closest thing to a professional saw you're going to get at that price range. So I'd highly recommend. Anyways, guys, if this helped you out, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you like reviews like this. Working on projects and cars and things of that nature. I'd like to have you here. And also drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think of the saw, if you have one, or if you buy one, what you're thinking of it. I'd like to hear how your experiences are as well. Without further ado, guys, always remember to get out there, do it yourself.